Good evening, Sim Petrol heads, and welcome to round 5 of the Thermaltake Sprint Series. Tonight we are here at the Hungaroring. My name is Blake Griffiths, and joining me tonight in the booth is the plucky sophomore, Noah Reinhardt. Noah, how are you doing, mate?
I'm doing very well. Thanks for having me once again. Glad that my debut went okay enough to have me for a second time around. I actually really love this track, and I'm really keen to see how Split Yellow goes tonight.
Oh, interesting. Okay, why do you love this track? I personally, I feel a bit mixed on it. I feel like it's been a very arduous a bit of training and practicing for me coming up to this one, so I'm curious as to why you like it.
Part of it will be devil's advocate, I'm not going to lie. But I think there's enough overtaking spots. You got the first corner being the main one. I love the fast medium speed turns. Then you also have the hairpins there in sector 3. It's just got a bit of everything, and also no walls to crash into, which makes life a little bit easier compared to last week in the rainy Bathurst.
Yeah, I do think there is a nice reprieve from last week, and it's a slight change of pace. Those walls are not encroaching too fast, as we do have Lele setting the pace so far with a 44.435. We're going to see that improve. I believe that's our first sort of banker. Can expect something like a low 42 on a very, very good day, but we shall see. It's 4 p.m, so I'm not sure what our track situation is, but yeah, I think it's an interesting track. I've actually only ever raced it in the wet as well, because I think the last time was definitely, I was in academy and it was a wet race, and that was a bit tricky because there's quite a few bits of concrete that you can, like in this corner, you can get up on, as we do see Piper getting up on that concrete, and it's ill-advised in the wet, so it is a little bit different. Will say in my big Mercedes, yeah, I think I'm having a little bit of a difficult time thus far, but I'm keen for tonight's action. I think we did just have Luke Johnson putting himself atop the standings thus far. Piper with 8 tenths up on that banker that we saw earlier, throwing that GTR in there, full commitment for the second lap, but yeah, very, very keen. Back in the booth for the first time in a while too. It's nice to be here. Just bear with me as I shake off a little bit of rust.
Funny you mentioned that your academy race was wet. The last time I did a race here, the academy race went from dry to wet back to dry, which was an interesting experience, having it be my second race at OOR. Well, I think it might have been my first, actually. But it should be a nice, dry, sunny day this evening. Not too much that the drivers have to worry about in terms of race, other than mandatory fuel requirements with no fixed refueling time. It'll be interesting to see how the strategy plays out tonight with that one.
Yeah, so it's what I'm calling an Uber sprint round, where it's 45 minutes, as you said, one stop. So it's sort of just about where you want to be. Wow, that's closer than I'd like. And I think that's Miller letting through Vintner there, as he's 4 tenths up. So he's still got a bit of time there, but I didn't quite see if there was a loss. So it's just about sort of like where you want to put that stop, because I mean, to me the obvious choice is a splash and dash, putting in 3 liters, as to not mess anything up. Luke Johnson 5 tenths up, if you don't mind, 4 tenths over Lele. That's stonking, but we've still got time in the bag for what's possible, so we'll see if they can achieve that. But yeah, a quick stop just for some fuel, but I guess it's who's practiced their stops, who's practiced the pit entry, and where you take that. You might take it straight away and get yourself out of the pack and just lap yourself by yourself in clean air, or you might leave it till the very, very end. So we'll see how they go. Lele trying to strike back here, a 10th and a half up right now as you come into the final sector. In that Cheetos McLaren, it's 2 tenths now, but it's not going to be quite enough unless he has quite a bit in his bag through this last set of corners. Approaching 3 tenths to get to the final hairpin on the brakes, get it around that Mako, liking this mid-speed corner on the power, getting it out wide onto that AstroTurf. It's still 3 tenths, so he's going to have to find a little bit more, but he's pulling over for the time being. Maybe some new boots for that Mako.
Yeah, only 700s off, which is a pretty good effort, I would say. As you got the 4s there, 6th, 7th, and 8th as well. I do find that this track probably does tend to benefit the mid and rear engine cars, especially getting it turned in on the hairpins, but it's good to see that still have some front engines as well up in the top 5 and top 10.
Yeah, you can never count out these guys. They're just too good, even if they're in a suboptimal car. Do you see Piper coming across the line at 7/10 up, but it's not valid. And they haven't set a valid lap thus far. As Luke Johnson 2/10 up on that best time again. So that's he's fastest. I feel like I've missed something there, but looking on with Rondinella, he's very, very deep into. You know what? I'm so rusty. I don't even have my track map up. Jeez Louise. But currently level with his time. But we jump back to Jamie Conboy in the 117 Pixel Racers Mustang, and he's got about a second right now, which would put him at pole if he can get it all the way up there. Coming into this final sector, JC having a pretty good season. Currently sitting. We are missing the results from last week, as we did have a crash, a server crash. So the results haven't been entered just yet, but he's sitting up near the top of the standings. Jamie Conboy, second fastest right now, 1.6 seconds. Nope. Jeez Louise.
That time?
A 10th and a half. And a little bit, and change from the top time.
Good to see Rondinelli's also out there as well. I heard he was having some PC issues, so glad to see that he's on the track. As we have Vincent going wide and validating his lap. He does have time for one more, especially because he's in the last sector now.
So John Gormley just saying that Lupti went out, Lupti is Rondinello if you're not familiar, went out and got a PC part to make sure that he could make this race. That is commitment. I love it, which probably means he hasn't been doing too much practice either if he's only got the gears spinning today. Do you see Piper coming across the line and actually setting a time? So that's top 5. He's 6/10 off the pace right now, so not too bad, but he's only got a few more bites of the apple. Brian Kong, another one who hasn't set a time yet. I do think it's a little bit of a tricky track. It's pretty easy to invalidate here, but he is going to bank this one in 2.3 seconds off the pace. It's 6 slots in nicely behind Piper. It's a pretty good slot there. Kong actually doing extremely well currently. Again, my results aren't quite accurate, but he, as far as I know, he's third in the Silver Cup. So very nicely done this season for Kong.
Yeah, so Vintner now 3/10 up now, going to the second sector. He's really, really on the edge of these track limits here. You really do have to make as much use of those track limits as you can to get those tenses. Now he loses a little bit of time in the chicane there. Really struggling a little bit, trying to find time, but also staying within track limits.
Yeah, I think you're going to have to get your car as out wide as possible if you want to maximize your time here. He's 3/10 up. It's going to put him sort of in that Kong and Piper area if he can capitalize and get this one over the line, as we do have a Porsche there just hanging out in the car park. I got a little bit of space for them to come back, but it's 5/10 now for Vintner. That is sublime, if you don't mind. Get it thrown in around this last corner, get on the power, ease the throttle. Away we go. It's going to be 5.5 tenths, and that's going to put him up into 6 behind Vertiga. So just ahead of Piper and Kong. As you do see Kong, wow, Kong, this is massive. That's going to be near pole position if he can get this one done. It's a bit tricky. You're fighting yourself to not get on the power too early, and that is P1 for Brian Kong. Wowee! Our silver driver here, Brian Kong. Take a bow, mate. That was beautiful. As we do see, we're coming into the last 30 seconds, so we got people crossing the line for their last laps, and some out there already on their last laps. Vertiga in that Coke Mustang, slinging it around that last corner. It's going to be 4/10 right now, and that's going to be pretty close to the top, if you don't mind. P3 for Vertiga. See what everyone else has in their bag of tricks, if they can top that. Luke Johnson on board. Last lap for him now.
All he's got to do is find a 10th as well, and he will be back into pole position. He's still in the green. It's really just, a split second of the accelerator there. 1-2 meters braking later, and all of a sudden you have that 10th. As Rondinella now crosses the line, and he'll be in P9, which he'll probably be pretty happy considering he hasn't done much practice, and was also the fruitball servers not being online. I would say he'd probably be relatively happy with that, as we're now on board with Johnson. Still, 500s, he's very, very close, really just trying to get to that pole position.
Yeah, he was saying he doesn't have to find too much, but when you're at the limit of your capability, it's hard to find that extra little bit, and then you start overdriving because you just need to find just a little bit, and it can really screw you up. Kong though setting a very, very, very similar time here. It's going to be so close. Call that consistent. It's improved by about, what was that, 2/100ths of a second? So that's it for Brian Kong. That's all she wrote. But God, he can rest his hat over his head. But it does not look like Luke Johnson has an answer for that one. It looks like he's a little deep there. And he's going to be down about... Well, it wasn't there for Johnson, but that's not what you'd want. But that car needs to get off that line. Do you think that... Is that David Marshy? Is that Marshy? Oh, he's just lost it.
Lost it.
Yeah, that Macca. A little bit tail happy at the best of times, but... And there we have it. So we have Brian Kong from Johnson, from Vediga, from Conboy, from Lele, from Preciado, Vintner, King, Piper, and Rondinella rounding out your top 10. It's a pretty solid effort there from Rondinella. I do see Chiritos as well back in the fray. I believe he's missed a little bit of time, so it's good to see him back on the track.
And how about these liveries? They are awesome. Just the creative minds, even just the technological aspect as well. It breaks my brain just trying to even get a livery up, let alone get it all together, and they all look so good.
Yeah, we got some very talented blenderers and photoshoppers amongst us. David Marshy just chiming in to say that's not me in the chat. But yeah, some really, really nice ones. There's some like kind of classic style ones, and then some more fun ones. Some more like realistic ones. Do you have a favorite that you've seen thus far?
Well, Mr. Benjamin Hignett was showing us one in practice before we went live. That was probably the most creative one I've seen. If we can get a shot of that when we get to the car, because that was very amusing. I don't know whose car that was though.
Was that the GTR?
I believe so. It was one with the little banana on top and Hobbsy's little comment at the back. Yeah.
Yeah, that's Lim. I believe he's a bit further down the grid, just there on the right, that burgundy GTR. So lovely livery here, nice burgundy, and it's business at the front, party in the top and the back with the random banana and the Hobbsy Discord message. You were saying you feel like it's a little bit of a mind game thing, get people a little bit distracted trying to read the message on the back.
It would definitely distract weak minds like myself, that's for sure. It's like a bumper sticker when you're in traffic. You go, oh, what's that? And then all of a sudden you're probably in a barrier or in a gravel trap if you're as skilled as I am, which is not very much.
Nothing worse than a bumper sticker with small writing, so you can't really read it unless you're like stopped really close to them in traffic, and then you're like, I promise I'm not tailgating you, I want to read what your stupid bumper sticker says.
The only time I'm happy sitting at a red light is when I get to have a peek of those bumper stickers.
Good collects, we have a bit of a team McLaren as well there on the right. I think that's Ryan Anderson's BMW on the right there as well. Got that KSC Mustang. So, give me, you got any predictions for the start of this one, or for the finish of this one, or the middle of this one?
Well, we were hinting about it a bit earlier. Pit stops will be probably on the shorter end, and it'll probably be either very early or very late. I don't see many pit stops happening in the middle where you'll probably be getting into traffic that you don't want to. Not an easy track to overtake as well, especially if they're only slightly slower than you, but not necessarily a whole bunch, because that last corner is kind of the only place you have in terms of being able to make an easy overtake with the slipstream.
Yeah, I haven't done a lot of racing myself here, as we sort of hinted at before, so I'm not entirely sure on the moments of action that this track provides. It's a pretty narrow track, and there's a few places where I wouldn't really want to be side by side whatsoever. So I'm interested to see where this action sort of starts kicking off. So we just get onto our formation lap. Kong leading the way in the number 6 Ferrari. Really good effort there from Brian Kong. I think he's been pretty on form this season.
I do also wonder how things like track limits will play a role, because it's very easy to accumulate those track limits warning. I know when I was in my practice, I was getting them every second lap. So if you're holding down the throttle and extend those track limits, those warnings can catch up pretty quickly, and it's a pretty hefty penalty when you get them as well.
Yeah, I think that's a good shout. Do you think, if you had to put a number on it, how many drive-throughs are we going to see for track limits?
The over-under is probably 2.5, I would say, right?
Yeah,
either 2 or 3.
I think the over-under 2, like 2 to 3, or 2.5, I guess. And Marshy defending his innocence, throwing Don Klopper under the bus for that spinning Macca earlier.
Well, you got to, keep your pride.
Yeah, I know. Marshy can't, he can't take responsibility for his actions. But as we get double file here, we're going to go around these last 2 hairpins. I guess they're hairpins. Kong from Johnson from Vetiga. This is pretty close to what the series standings looks like at the moment. But Johnson right now forgetting his place. That's Kong's P1. As we come around the final bend, I do wonder what we're going to see, but around this first corner, it is a bit of a tricky hairpin straight up as they are side by side, rolling over their grid boxes. We are looking to go green in our Thermaltake Sprint Series, and it's a pretty even start there. There's a Cheetos McLaren that's got a pretty good start. That Ford Mustang looking through the middle there, but tucks back in behind Kong. But Kong has just been caught napping there from Johnson, and he's away. It's almost a car length. They're about 4 wide through the back there, but not too much trouble happening thus far. Lele here looking down the inside of Vintner in that Coke Mustang, and he's going to make this happen, but he's going to be on the outside for this corner and has to tuck the nose back in there. So that's position Vintner, as we've still got 2 wide down the back, and they're going to have to sort this out as they come through this very fast section. But right now, Kong, P2, he's lost out to Johnson, with Jamie Conboy feeling comfortable in P3 there. And it's a pretty safe start thus far as we throw it in through this S's section over these chicanes. We'll see if these silent coppers catch anyone out, and they are still going 2 wide. Rondinella cutting through that section there. That might be a track limit already for him on his resume. Thus far, all good. It looks like a few people have lost out positions through the back, but it's clean racing as we go.
Yeah, relatively all nip and tuck. There was a bit of door banging as you got into the second and third corner, as we see Vedica having a cheeky little peek, trying to get a mistake from Conboy as we start to get to the last few corners at the end of the lap. But yeah, all relatively nip and tuck. Kong actually managing to do pretty well to maintain his P2. He was getting swarmed in that first corner, only losing out the 1 position is actually, I would say, obviously not ideal, but relatively, he's probably wanting to just ease out a little bit, get going, because you could have lost a lot more than that.
Yeah, I think staying P2, you have to be, you're alright with that. It's not ideal, but probably just wasn't quite ready for that. I'm not sure how often Kong's found himself on the front row of our Thermaltake Sprint Series. I'm sure there's a little bit of nerves there, but he just has to keep his head down now. As we do see a couple of people are coming into the pits, so doing their splash and dash early, getting themselves out of that traffic, as we might get some pictures there, but that's the 32 BMW and the 98 BMW as well. Just looking back on our main screen, we do see I believe that is Reed getting around K, if I'm not mistaken, in that Iron Dames liveried Porsche, with Lim behind them. Whoa, nice.
they're
And
still fighting.
yeah, that GTR just getting a really good turn in there. I wouldn't not envious of Reed in this Audi. I think a bit of a tall order here, avoiding those curbs significantly. Couldn't be me and my big Merc. I'm steamrolling those things, baby.
It's a cheat code with the Merc and curbs. It's a match made in heaven. Those two, the car and the curbs, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's one of the advantages. It has its disadvantages though, but you'll see that later tonight. Hopefully I'm not on the camera that much, but we jump on board with Charitos in the number 9 BMW. He's got Rondinella behind him, so he's actually gotten ahead of Rondinella here to start this race, and Piper looks like one that might have fallen down a position or two. As we come around and complete lap 2, Luke Johnson still setting the pace up the front there, 44 flat pretty much. Looking across the rear wing of Lele, looking across the rear wing of Vintana, looking across the rear wing of Appreciato. We're not going to stay on that shot whatsoever. Thanks, Big Net. By the way, big shout out to Biggie on the camera tonight. As usual, our stalwart champion.
100%. Putting the triple shifts this season, absolute legend.
We see a couple more cars actually coming into the pits on the, I guess this would be lap 3 now. It's kind of interesting, I guess maybe just feeling like they're getting stifled a little bit and want to get out of that traffic. So if you see, looking back, you've got the 32 and the 98 I mentioned earlier, and they're in pretty nice clear air. So if you feel like you don't want to be in that, in amongst that ruffle, it's a pretty good strat, but if it does come to blue flags, you are going to be contending and losing time to that, which I think my maths isn't good enough to tell you if that's going to happen during this race, but we shall see.
No, pitting this early definitely isn't a bad idea, especially if you qualified a little bit further back than you're anticipating and want to get out of the dirty air, which you kind of have to compete with in this track with the train. Definitely not something you want to be in. You obviously want to help the tires as well, because obviously you're not going to be pitting for tires, so even just having the clean air, being able to drive without distractions and tire wear is definitely going to play a huge part, as we have the replay of the restart now, or the race start rather.
So that's Lele just getting a pretty good start, almost too good potentially, but sending it way up the inside there of Vintana, but getting a little bit wide. There's a little bit of argy-bargy, nothing too crazy. But yeah, it looks relatively by the books to me.
Honestly, looks like the Cheetah McLaren there on us may have saved Kong a little bit, making it 3 wide. Kong being on the inside and having to be able to maintain his position looked like the reason why he was able to maintain it.
Yeah, so you have a bit of a Mustang battle here. Convoy and Vedega right now in close proximity. That Coke Mustang just wanting a piece of these pixel races. He dodges to the inside, but that's not really going to happen there. You're going to have a pretty terrible line if you try and get side by side through there. So he tucks back in as we come through this SS section. Gets a little bit wide off the apex there for Vedega. I think a bit of a carry-on effect from taking a bit of an offline into the chicane. The Convoy is safe for the moment. Vintana, a couple cars back, pretty close onto the back of Lele. Ooh, a bit of a slide there for Choritos in the background. A bit of a snap.
Yeah, we're seeing already that it's quite hard to overtake once you get tucked amongst the car. You kind of have to wait for a mistake or get a really good exit in that last corner to be able to really make a move. We saw the Ford Vedega try and make a mistake into that chicane before, but you're not going to full Convoy with that sort of move. You really have to just hope to get a slipstream down this main straight here.
Yeah, Convoy way too experienced for something like that. Yeah, I do think as well, like, it's probably a bit tricky to get a better exit out of the last corner to try and slingshot yourself to get side by side or even ahead into the first corner, considering the nature of that last corner, because like you're kind of both just taking the same line. You're not going to get it done around the outside per se. So unless they make a mistake getting on the throttle and getting a bit of oversteer, which at the very top is pretty unlikely, into the top of the standings, sorry. So I think it's just going to have to keep the pressure on Vedega and see if there's a mistake that Convoy might make. Who knows, maybe his daughter will jump on his lap in the middle of the race to put him in the wall.
Honestly, that might actually even, help him, keep him more concentrated. You never know.
I've seen some clips where she's like hitting him in the head or something, and he's just like laser focused still on the screen. It's so funny. It's very adorable.
Do you think dad speed exists then as well? I mean, he's still P3 at the moment.
Dad speed? What's dad speed?
Well, you have dad strength, right? Does dad speed exist?
Oh, I see.
That's the question.
Yeah. I don't know. It's that's an interesting one. I know. Used to be a big NBA fan, and there was a bit of a phenomenon when guys would have a kid, like their first kid. When they came back, they'd be like kind of bad, and then they would get like really, really good a couple months after, probably when their baby starts to settle a bit. So it's an interesting thing. Maybe we'll have to run some experiments. That sounds odd. It sounds like I'm gonna make people have kids. I'm not gonna do that. But we'll see if it does prove to be. Vedega, a little bit of a slide there, tail happy in that Mustang. He's getting close here. He keeps doing some feints on the inside and outside, but Convoy is not quite hitting. It's getting very, very close to Vedega with a bit of overspeed. That one has to check up. Convoy just getting away a little bit after that one.
Yeah, we've already said multiple times of how it's a relatively hard track to overtake, but it'd be even harder when you're driving the big cars that are the Ford Mustang. There aren't many cars that are as big, maybe the Merc and the BMW, but they are big boys.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they're trying to make a move on the same car too. Like, it really is just trying to bait a mistake out of the car ahead with that pressure. But Convoy not biting thus far. These two about 1.7 seconds back from Kong. Kong is about half a second back from Johnson. That is not half a second. That looks a bit closer. Yeah, 3/10. That sounds about right. So Kong turning up the heat here as we earn about lap 5 potentially. Oh, red Thermaltake logo. Is that allowed?
But, I mean, it has to go with the rest of the car, surely. You surely have a bit of creative license, creative leeway.
If you've ever worked in design, you know that there's a big fat book on what you can and cannot do with logos, and coloring them is like here and there. But this is not, this is racing. This is not that. I don't think anyone's going to get their panties too twisted about that. But yeah, thus far, Johnson looking pretty steady right now in that Castrol McLaren. Kong still, that's about 5/10 now back. We do have our back runners there that have already pitted, about 4 or 5 cars, maybe 6 cars. Just looking down our order, yeah, Vedega still half a tenth back. A bit further down, Miller very close to the other Vedega. About 2/10. There's a little bit of a battle pack there actually, because Liam K very, very close behind. If we get eyes on that in a moment. And there we are in the other Coke Mustang. So team cars, I presume.
Yeah, I'd love to see a bit of team liveries out on the track, a bit of team sportsmanship.
If you're running a soft drink based livery, what soft drink would it be?
I actually think the purple Fanta would go
Great Fanta?
quite hard. Yeah, it's the best Fanta.
What? That's like bizarre. Ben Hignett chiming in with Solo, which I think is a good shout. I do have a can of Pepsi Max next to me, so I think it would have to be Pepsi Max probably for myself.
Yeah, just the black livery though. At least the Solo, I do rate the Solo. Bright yellow.
Yeah.
Would actually look quite nice, I reckon.
Yeah, I think it'd be pretty good. Lele still fending off Vintner here in that Motol Aston Martin. It's about 5/10 right now. as we are about a third into the race. Nice late braking there from Vintner, gets it nice and close. McLaren, I believe, not famous for its braking prowess, as they get it slung around T2. Just looking at these lines, keeping it pretty line of stone, nice and tight there for Ben Vintner. So they sling it around T3.
Now we are just over 10 minutes into the race. It will be interesting to see when the pit stops play out. Still probably another 20 minutes at least when the guys up top pit, because obviously they don't be put in traffic. But it will be interesting to see whether that will shake things up. You know, have they even been practicing their, you know, pit entries? I know I haven't, so let's see what that happens then.
Yeah, I mean, it's such an easy... Ben Hignett slyly changing the camera to Jamie Conboy when a botched pit entry is mentioned. He can never escape the allegations. Has he, has Jamie even done a bad one in recent memory to defend his honor? But, yeah, I think that's going to be one of the places that you can make up that time if you are, if you are stuck, a la Vediga here. Is just making sure you do not mess up that pit stop, as we do have a drive-through. Put 1 on the tally sheet, call up your bookie, Joe Spenceley in the 16 Porsche with our first drive-through of the night for track limits. In this, I want to say that this is like an Adidas shoe car. Oh, so when it looked away for 1 second, Vediga having a look at the inside, forces Jamie to the outside. They're going to stay side by side. Jamie is going to have the inside line here if he can keep it together, but he tucks back inside and concedes that position. So Vediga on the podium, very nicely done.
Would be very interesting to see how that was set up, but we were talking about before, the main place where those overtakes will be happening is T1, and sure enough, he made it happen.
Yeah, we might get a replay of that in a minute. We've got a few suggestions for soft drink based liveries. I believe that's Scotty Rockford saying Kirk's Creaming Soda, which I think is a good shout too. And then people suggesting spiders. Sorry, back onto topic with Vediga. Oh, so this is just going to be a bit of a late braking move, a bit of Danny Rick action if you don't mind. Sends it to the inside. Jamie just caught napping there a little bit, and he's a bit wide. So really just nice aggressive move there from Vediga to get that done.
Yeah, it looked all above board to me. Key important thing as well is to get the move done before turn 2 as well, which he managed to do then, because once you get to turn 3, if you're on that outside line, that's GG's, as we see there. Pisciata having a look on the inside in chicane, which isn't going to really happen in the big boy car there. We have a little bit of a train forming up there as well. It'll be interesting to see how the slipstreams all play out as we head into the final turn.
Well, very deep there from Piper into the last corner, but might be able to turn that into a bit of a V. That GTR absolute ballistic missile down the straight, but I don't think he's going to be close enough this time. A mistake costing a little bit as we look on board. I think this is Miller and the other Vediga. Just... No, Kay! Oh no! It's not a lot of place to go there, but I do feel like that was a little bit of a slow reaction on Kay's part. That's not how you send it down the inside, like we saw with the other Vediga. We do jump back on board here with Piper. Whoa, a bit too much inside
track limits warning, I would assume, just then.
Yeah, not most of the cars don't like hopping up on that one. That one you smash. I think in pretty much every car it's relatively safe. But yeah, so just fighting out here for the last couple of positions in the top 10.
Yeah, you do love to see having a bit of a train forming, everyone getting amongst it. As we see there, the Nissan of Piper getting right onto the back of Appreciato there, but he's going to have to probably wait until that last corner. There's just not many places where you can make a move unless obviously there's a huge mistake from the car ahead. You just really have to be patient, and now just like that you have Charles on the back of Piper. It all happens so quickly, but it's really that last corner where it is super important to be right on the back of the car ahead.
Yeah, I think these guys could be on a tow rope for a lot of the race if no one makes too much of a mistake. But as they come around, what? Jeez Louise. Say something and someone immediately dives in the pits. Interestingly, Apreciado deciding to hop out of that train, decouples from the car in front and behind and puts it into the pits. Interestingly, I feel like King there has a little bit more of a gap than, say, Piper did to them, but maybe not wanting to deal with that pressure that comes with a car following so closely behind.
Interesting to see him pit as well, considering he was at the front of the train as well. So you'd still be getting the clean air, but maybe just wanting to take the pressure off and hopefully pop out in a bit of clean air.
Yeah, but as they jump back up to the top of the grid, we got Vedega now close to Kong, and Kong has not lost the scent of Johnson up the very, very front. So this is heating up. We've been simmering for a little bit, and we're starting to get to a rolling boil.
Yeah, it's going to be a bit of a slow burn this race as we wait for the pit stops to take effect as well. It's just really going to be about staying to as close to the car ahead as you can as the minutes die away, and just hope that, you know, you can catch a lucky break, whether it be a mistake in front or with the pit stops.
I have to call out John Gormley in the chat for saying that he likes protein shakes more than milkshakes. That's just not on, John. It's not on. All right. I need you to take a minute and think about what you said, because that's just ridiculous.
All about the gains, mate. All about the gains.
Gains. Where's your whimsy? Where's the
tomfoolery even?
Absolutely. These guys they're approaching our first lapped car. I believe that would be, or will be lapped, yet to be lapped even, in number 16. Not quite sure who that is, but they're going to catch... Wait, no, that car in front of them, the 96, is even closer. Oy. So we'll start to see, it always throws a bit of a spanner in the works. People that have been in that situation before are pretty good at moving out of the way. This track has a couple of good spots and a couple of pretty bad spots, but enough of that now, because Vedega is looking like he's going to get around without the help of any sort of blue flag action.
Really putting the pressure on Kong, who has the fastest lap but hasn't been able to, stay in the tailwinds of Johnson, who's now 1.2 seconds down. Vedega really on the back of him, trying to just get that overtake done. Doesn't want to be held up too much, as we can see the blue flag car starting to get approached. It'll be interesting to see when he lets the cars go through.
Oh, that's a tricky place to let that happen. But yeah, Dyer's out of the way here, so it's going to be easy going for Vedega and Kong. But Kong not quite getting that exit there, as Vedega's going to have a look at the inside, but just pulls out of the move at the last second. I think that was pretty wise. I don't think it was going to happen there, but Kong is put on notice by Vedega.
Yeah, he'll be keeping an eye on his rear mirror for sure as we approach the last corner. He's not going to be close enough to make a move down to the first turn, but he is going to be probably sweating bullets a little bit, especially trying to navigate through the blue flag traffic. That was a very hectic 2 corners.
Yeah, we almost saw a bit of action there. We just see Comboy in the background there, falling off the back of Vedega, so definitely holding him up. So you look a bit further down, we've got Piper with a very menacing BMW of Choritos in the background. Need to ask him how to pronounce his name. I don't think that's right, but Choritos looking on the inside, has a little bit of oversteer there. But King was... Is that King? I thought King was driving a black car. I'm going to say that that's not King. Maybe. But he sent it down the inside regardless. Someone help me out here. Anybody.
I mean, it's all happening at the moment. There's overtakes happening. Who said you can't overtake in Hungaroring?
Oh, Rondinella just sends it up the inside there. God, Choritos having a look. He's going to go the long way around, but it's not going to get done, and you're not going to out-aero that McLaren. So Rondinella back in the top 10. Nicely done. That must be... It can't be a blue flag car. They've been fighting this whole time, so that is King. So I'm not sure what that black McLaren was earlier.
Your guess will be as good as mine as we have a look at the replay now. It's going to be the blue flag car waiting to try and get out the way. I believe, is that what's happening here?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh no.
no! Yeah, just a bit too eager to get out of the way there and lost control. That GTR can be a bit snappy at the best of times. Unfortunate for them.
A lot of corners on this track where it's slightly off camber. You really have to be patient on the throttle. The last turn, as we have, having a look on the inside, that was Vedeka. He's really itching to get ahead, but Kong, credit to him, is not letting him get through.
Still have that yellow flag number 96 back there. I don't believe that's the same car, but they're having to wait an awful long time for a lot of this traffic to go through. So that hurts for them. Jack Miller copping a 15-second penalty for that incident we saw earlier with Ashley Vedeka, I believe that was. Yep, God, I'm good. That's why they pay me the medium bucks.
You guys get paid?
Yeah, but don't tell anyone.
Alright, I'll keep the secret.
Nah, but those guys also very close to the back of Stockton too. We do see, well, Michael Clark copping a 15-second penalty for a collision on the same lap, but I don't believe we saw that one.
That's a hefty penalty too. 15 seconds as well. Stewards aren't playing around this split.
Yeah, it's setting the precedent now. They're not here for that funny business. We might get eyes on that one in a little bit. In terms of Michael Clark's penalty, but Kong still holding off this charge from Vedeka. We are over the halfway point in this race. Do have a car moving slowly in the back there, number 21 or 3, I believe that was. We do have number 75 in the pits currently, but oof, that Mustang is scary. I'm always, Mustang in the rear mirror, not what you want to see. I think it's going to have a look around the very outside, going to take the long way. It's not going to quite be there. Kong just placing the car in just the right spot. Vedeka's not letting go of this one, and now he's got the inside for T3, and that, I think, is going to be all she wrote. Kong looking to kind of do a switch back there, but Vedeka shuts the door in his face, and that's Vedeka P2.
And now he's going to have the free air to hopefully catch Johnson in P1. He's got 20 minutes to do it. He may still have a crack yet. Interestingly enough as well, if you look a bit down the order, you have King P20 and Appreciato in P21, both making their stops. As you see now, Klopper heading to the pits. They're going to be ones to look out for, as everyone else still has to pit. They'll be jumping up a few places, no doubt.
Yeah, we'll get to see if the undercut proves fruitful here at the Hungaroring, but Kong definitely it's not so much a holding up thing. Vedeka obviously having the speed, but he's only, like, Johnson is only 2 seconds up the road, so it's not like Vedeka has to put in like a ridiculous stint here to catch up to the back. It's still very much to play for here, and Johnson now probably was a bit happy that Vedeka was being held up if he was aware of the situation. And now going to be looking in his rearview mirror. So speaking of, we do have Vintner in the number 7 Aston, getting mighty close to Lele, keeping them honest here as we look towards the back half of the race.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see how the story plays out for the podium position, specifically P1 and P2, because obviously they're still yet to pit as well, so just having a really nice pit can make up 1 second, and they're in the ballpark.
Would you believe Tim Gobe is starting Mustang discourse in the YouTube chat? Big shout out to Tim, number 1 Mustang enjoyer. Maybe behind John Gormley. I don't know. It's too close to call.
Would he be talking about the BOP by any chance?
Not just yet, but it has been mentioned. So if that was on your bingo, make sure you cross that one off.
I feel like anytime the Mustang gets mentioned in any sort of OOR discourse, the restrictor follows very close behind.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, we just a bit of a launch there across the chicane. It's going to put Vintner back a little bit there. Gonna have to lock in. None of that if you want to catch up to the back with Lele.
Yeah, so if you look at Kong now, I was going to say, only 5/10 behind, so still managing to, stay within grasp. The slipstream would be playing into his favour as well. As you see, he gets nice and close, tucked into the second last corner, approaching the final hairpin. If he can stay within the slipstream, those podium places will all still be to play for.
Yeah, I do wonder if we'll see a little bit of the Mustang sort of stretch its legs a little bit here, especially from that Ferrari, whereas you'll see the Ferrari start to make that time back as you get through the twisties. Obviously, very, very nice planted aero-reliant car versus that Mustang that's just splitting the air with its face, as to say.
Headbutting it even.
Yeah, just head first. Forehead split. The forehead is the splitter. Kong is still holding on to that fastest lap though. That's nice. It's extra points as well.
Yeah, if he can hold on to that for the rest of the race, I'm sure he'll be very happy with that. Plus a podium, I would be very happy with that.
Yeah, I don't imagine that anyone will go faster as the tyres start to get a little bit average. But we shall see. I say things and then people do things immediately to make me look stupid pretty frequently. As it happens on the broadcast. Oh, what a shot. Love that. Maybe a bit of an odd line there from Convoy running over the camera. A little bit squirrely there from, I think that's Clark in that pink Aston Martin blue flag action. We do have a couple more cars coming through for their stops. Liam K just popping out. Miller serving that 15-second right now. As we do have a little bit more blue flag action happening. Vincent are just getting by without too much trouble.
Yeah, 15 minutes to go was probably a bit earlier than I was expecting most people to pit, but obviously we still have pretty much everyone from P1 to P14 still yet to pit. It'll be interesting to see who bites the bullet first. Maybe they're trying to do some mental arithmetic and calculations in their head as they're driving. I know I wouldn't be able to do that, but these guys are so good.
Yeah, I think it's a difficult one, and if you look at the track map, there is cars literally all around the track, so there's not a lot of free space to be found. I would be tempted to leave it till literally the last lap if you're at the front, as to not cede any kind of track position to people who do wait a little bit longer. Rondinella here, haven't seen too much. He had a nice move on Choritos a little bit earlier, but relatively quiet for Jaden thus far. It's a good result, I would say he'd have to be feeling, considering probably very, very little practice. We do have Veselovsky with a 10-second penalty there. I didn't actually quite catch what that was for, but yeah. Kong just falling back a little bit from Vedega now. They were a lot closer a couple laps ago, and this is in the twisties bit, so Kong probably just trying to hold on now. Convoy actually edging a little bit closer here, so Kong gonna get on the defensive soon. As we have a little bit of a replay here, this was potentially Veselovsky, just getting very deep and then side by side. Oh, it's too close, and there's going to be a bit of a touch there, and it's a little bit rough.
Not ideal. Definitely don't want to be pointing that direction if you're any car. As you see now, Convoy less than a second up to Kong. He's catching relatively quickly. I'll imagine a battle will be happening in the next 5 minutes or so.
Yeah, I do think there was a bit of overlap going into that corner, that spin that we just saw, but I'll leave that one to the stewards. Yeah, Kong definitely, I think maybe struggling with the tyres a little bit or something, because yeah, his speed is just falling off just a little bit. And so we have a look a bit further down the grid. We've got Wood defending off Frostuck in a KFC Mustang. A bit further down, and beyond them there is a bit of a gap forming in the track if someone were to want to pit. I do see one of these sort of team looking McLarens that we were talking about a little bit earlier, that Mustang getting pretty close. I feel like Frostuck, I'm a little bit surprised to see him in Pro-Am, but I may be misremembering here. McDowell actually is one that is a lot lower down than I would have thought. McDowell provisionally is 8th in the standings that I have. So seeing him in the middle of this pack is a little bit interesting. Although he has pitted, to be fair.
Yeah, and if I'm doing a little bit of quick math, around 15 seconds behind P14, who is the first person ahead that hasn't pitted and also has the 10-second penalty, he'll probably be making at least 1 or 2 spots, I would imagine, as he now has a look on the outside. Oh, and switches back onto the inside as they come down to the second corner. Nicely done. What a move.
Nice switch there. Just baiting Stockton and sending it down the inside. Really nice move from McDowell. He's got a few moves on his resume this season. I think he's going to be on Thermal Overtake of the Week tomorrow night. I was
going to say, mark that down.
Yeah, mark that down
for next week.
Yeah, and yeah, keep that one in your binder. That was a nice move. Just jumping back up here, looking at Vertigo. Vertigo sitting in no man's land right now between Johnson and Kong, about 1.5 seconds each way. So not making as much headway as we potentially would have thought. Johnson just keeping the pace and setting the standard here, as we do see. We do see, I believe that was Klopper. Marshy informed us that was a bit spicy, as we do look at Klopper. This is so just getting all out of sorts in front of Johnson there. Kind of gets a bit too far off the track, a bit awkward. Something's gone a bit wrong with that car. Vertigo doing a really, really good job to anticipate the struggle across that AstroTurf and getting out of the way. Very, very lucky that nothing happened with that. But that has put him a bit further back off. Oh my god, hold on. Can we see that onboard shot, please? Yeah, here we go. The reaction time, oh my. So it sees that car just starting to slide and ducks to the left. It's like one of those videos you see on Instagram where it's like choose your direction as it freeze frames and you choose wrong like half the time.
Yeah, it's so easy to get the decision wrong there. Could have very easily almost ruined his race. So good to see that everyone is alive and racing, because in the McLaren car as well, it's very easy to compound mistakes when you make one and then you get flustered with blue flag cars as well. But glad to see everyone survived, as we have, it looks like Vertigo heading to the pits now. First one to bite the bullet.
Yeah, interesting. So Vertigo first of the top 3. I do just want to say we flicked through a couple of cars there, and I think there's 2 different kings in McLarens in this race, and one of them has a black car and one of them has a green car, and that explains the troubles that we had earlier, because yes, here's the black one and here's the green one. Should have done my homework. We also see Piper in that GTR has come into the pit, so another one in our top 10. They're starting to get that done. You do have to be a little bit careful. You don't want to end up like Taufik last season at, I think it was Monza, where he pitted too late and it did not count, and he got a big fat whack penalty for not pitting in time. So we'll probably see these guys start to come in soon.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll be interesting to see where Vertigo ends up now when they do decide to pit. Did he actually end up getting in clean air? Don't have the splits. It looks like he does have a bit of clean air though, which is probably ideal for him as well.
Lovely bit of clean air here for Vertigo, so he's timed that well, or it's a happy coincidence, but we'll say that he's done it well.
Take the credit when you can.
Yeah. Ooh. Johnson just very, very close to the back of another blue flag car, but a little bit less spicy that time around. Kong 3.5 seconds back. We do see Jamie Conboy peel into the pits. This is one to watch as he's done his homework. It looks like he's playing it safe-ish. Gets it stopped. Yeah. Everyone put your flags away. There's no Conboy moment this time.
Interestingly enough as well, not many track limit penalties yet. Still got 8 minutes, but looks like everyone's been keeping it in between the white lines for the most part.
Yeah, the over-under's looking pretty good. We only had one thus far. Taufik showing up when I mentioned his name. And I think that's Callum Lloyd asking if there's a pit window. I am not sure, so to say, but there is a point where it will be too late. to pit. So Jamie Combo coming out.
It's going to be tight.
Vedica. Whoa, it's very, very tight. Interesting that JC is able to get alongside here with am I stupid? Sorry, that is Vedica. But he's looking to keep it up here, but those warm tyres that Vedica has right now is looking like it's going to do the trick. And he's going to pull out in front. He's on a bit of an odd line through the third corner there. Convoy's going to force the issue here. And he's going to be on the outside for this corner as they go side by side. Vedica taking a lot of curb there and then a bit of a slide for Convoy. And I think that is going to be all she wrote for the moment. So probably a lot closer than Vedica would have liked there. Maybe not the best outlap. But yeah, Convoy nearly a bit of a stroke of magic there. Do you see Lele getting a 15-second penalty? I wasn't sure what that was for. I was mesmerized by this battle that we just had.
Yeah, we have Johnson coming into the pits now and Kong heading to the pits at the same time. It'll be interesting to see where they pop out because we have the Mustangs in the last section now. But Lele does have to serve a 15-second penalty. He's still out there as well. This is going to be pretty tight, but Johnson's going to be out comfortably. It will be interesting to see where Kong is, though.
Yeah, I think he's got a little bit of the pit to navigate still, but he should be relatively comfortably in the lead, I think, as well. Kong has now gotten going again, so I do think we might be, as we were holding station, Johnson looks like he's fine and off, and Kong, though, behind.
Lost some
so
spots.
Kong losing out there. Don't know if there was a bit of a muck-up with the pit, but he has found himself. That's going to be P4.
Convoy must have had an awesome pit stop because he nearly jumped Vertigo, if I'm not mistaken. Still on behind him as well. Probably had the best pit stop of the lot.
Bloody Cam Thistleway giving me grief in the chat for messing up Vintana and Vertigo. I'm trying, okay? I'm rusty. Give me a break. But Kong still holding on to that fastest lap, but losing out there in this battle of the pit stops. So it's a little bit disappointing for Kong, but the race is not quite over yet. But it's going to be a bit of a Hail Mary if he's going to make something happen. As Veselovsky gets a drive through for track limits, the over-under that we picked is looking good, but we'll see if there is one more to be had. You do have Vintana into the pits now as these guys are coming around the last sort of section.
Yeah, all a little nip and tuck though. It looks like if Vertigo can keep the car pointing straight, he should have the podium along with Convoy. So that's going to be your provisional P2 and 3 as they go past everyone else in the pits now. So we have, it looks like, pretending to do an absolute send, a very large dummy, but obviously not going to fool Vertigo there ahead of him.
I don't know why I had it in my head that Vincent was going to come out like kind of close to these guys, and that's not eventuated whatsoever.
Hey, could have had the quickest pit stop of all time. You never know with ACC.
But it's been a good one, but he's a little bit down the road, is Vintana. Oh, Kong, just a little bit spicy with those track limits here.
Yeah, if you're any of those three cars, you are going to be absolutely focused on not getting a drive-through penalty. I don't know how many warnings they have, but if you're on 3, you're going to be sweating bullets to make sure that you do not exceed those white paint lines.
I'm getting word in from the YouTube chat that Jaden Rondinella took tires in his start. Oh, I shouldn't laugh, but it's kind of funny. So that's going to put him down the way a little bit there. Just looking, yeah, P19. That is rough, buddy. We do see, though, we were looking at McDowell, and I was a bit surprised to find him so far down, but he's now having a sniff at the top 10. So good recovery drive, or I don't know what you want to call it, but a bit of a better result for McDowell.
Battle drive, if you will.
Yeah. Just looking down, we're on board with the other Vediga, then it's not the other Vintner. Pretty close on the back of McDowell, actually. Speak of the Lion Devil. Half a second off thus far. A little bit of paint gone from Vediga. We did see that incident into that corner actually a little bit early with Miller, I believe. Luti's still copying it in the chat. Oh my god. Never catches a break, that guy. You spin once on a straight and you never hear the end of it.
Hey, you could have been going for fastest lap, you never know.
We'll see if he can. We'll see if he can convert it. I think I would have preferred to just get the points from the position, but you know, he also, as we said, probably didn't practice that much. A bit of a slide there for Lele. Piper now in the mix with Lele after that 15-second penalty that he had. And they're relatively close to King up ahead too. So this Eva Galleon coloured GTR, I want to say. I feel like you can't have your car that colour and say it's not an Eva reference.
Oh, what type of colour did you say?
Evangelion, the anime, Neon Genesis.
Can't say I am aware.
I mean, you've probably seen the mech before. It's like exactly those colours. It's very iconic. But if you're not an anime person, it wouldn't mean too much for you. But Lim actually coming into the pits, leaving it very, very late. The last possible seconds. Liam K with a drive-through. If you bet the over, we're paying out, except we're not paying anything. I'm not giving you any money. There's a really good over-under call there, Noah.
That's why they paid me the small bucks.
That's why they pay me in exposure. But yeah, so last 10 seconds of the race. This is actually going to be the last lap for Johnson. Apologies.
Oh, he goes wide there, Stockton. That's going to be a place given up there. Not what you'll want to have on the last lap.
No, that's a little bit rough. Looking a bit further ahead, we've still got a little bit of a battle here. Lele and Piper, and ahead King. I think that is the... No, yes, that's the correct King. Apologies. So King probably looking more under fire from Lele here. Lele probably having a bit of pace, only finding himself this far back in the grid with that penalty, but he's only got half the track to do it. In the same machinery with a car hot on his exhaust, he's gonna swing it out to get that nice line through the S's. A little bit of braking, get it around. Liam K also suffering a drive through. If you bet the over, you're feeling good. I don't know if it's going to be here for Lele, but that's Johnson over the line with Vediga and Comboy and Kong just missing out on that podium after that beautiful qualifying. It's not going to be how he imagined, but it's a pretty good result nonetheless. Last corner here for Lele, and it's just not to be. King survives P2 in silver, P6 overall. It's a lovely result. We've got Piper, Apreciado, and McDowell is somewhere back here, a little bit of a gap. He's actually still fighting off Charitos with the Ashley Vediga behind him. Lewis over the line, little bit of a celebration there. Stockton and Kay, that penalty has transpired into a 30 seconds, so a bit of unfortunate there. Rondanella, one to forget. I think for him it was feeling pretty good, and now it's feeling a little bit silly.
Yeah, interesting enough, McDowell actually making it to the top 10 as well after battering in around the 15th area, and maybe even, in my opinion, getting the overtake of the race, as they do. You know, the silly donuts, well deserved as well for Johnson taking out P1 there.
Yeah, it's good race there from Johnson. Just getting ahead really early on and then never looking back. We do have a little bit of racing still at the back here. I think that's Clark fighting for fighting off Veselovsky as they come around the final corner. Same machinery. It's going to be very, very close, but I think Clark will hold on to this one. I think that might be for the win in AM class. And there we have it. Synchronized donuts up the top, and that will be split yellow, if you don't mind, round 5 here. Oh, that's something. Do you have a drive of the day? Well, I'm probably getting ahead of myself here. We actually need to go through the results again. Do you want to take us through the results, please, Noah?
Yeah, let's do it. So, for the race, we have Johnson P1, Vedica B2, Jamie Convoy P3, rounding out the podium positions. Following on, they have in the silver, we have Kong, King, and Piper in the top 3 for your silver. In Pro-Am, we have Appreciato, I hope I'm saying that name right, Charitos, and Vedica rounding out the 3 for Pro-Am. And then for your Am, you have Clark, Kranich, and James, all rounding out those amateur positions there.
Yeah, pretty nice race there. Not too many incidents. We got a small break, and then we're going to throw it over to green. Noah and myself will be racing, and you'll have Cam Thistlewaite and Tim Gobe in the booth. Oh, are we doing our draw now? Big Ben Hignett? I guess we are. I'm excited. It's going to be me. Hopefully it's me. I know the first time it was Cricky. Cricky was on stream and he got it. So spin that wheel.
Let's do it.
Oh, he actually did it. Tick, tick, tick. Whoa! It was so close!
Oh, really?
Oh, Callum! Callum was in here. I hope he's watching. Callum getting that nice wireless Thermaltake mouse. Thank you very much, Thermaltake, for spreading the love. Wow, that was so close to me, though. What a story that
You
would
nearly
have been.
called your own mouse.
I know, I almost called the shot. Oh,
You wouldn't have beat the rigging allegations, though.
No, it probably wouldn't have been good if that happened twice. Yeah, do you have a quick drive of the day you want to shout out?
I mean, the easy pick is Johnson, just after the first overtake in the first lap, just cruising ahead. Convoy as well, I can't remember what he started. I think it would have been P5, getting a nice pit stop. Also a very solid drive from him. What about you?
I'm going to give a shout out to Vedica. I feel like that was a pretty hard fought P2. And he was looking on form like the entire race. So I think Vedica would be probably my pick for driver of the day. Yeah, we shall have a little bit of a break here, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you stick around for the next one. But until next time, I've been Blake Griffiths, and I've been with Noah Reinhardt.
That's a beast of a PC. Anyways, good evening, everyone. My name is Tim Gobe, joined in the comms box with me by Cameron Thistlethwaite, and on the cameras is our one and only Benjamin Hignett. This is round 5 of the Octane Online Series Thermaltake Sprint Series, and I will just introduce my co-commentator now. Cam, how are you?
I'm very well, Tim. Thank you very much for that intro. It is lovely to be here, and very much get well soon, Sean, as well. Thank you very much for filling in for me last week, and yeah, I hope you're feeling better as well today. But yeah, here, Hungaroring for Split Green. I think Mr. Glory Baby's got a bit of a hand on the title, but I'm sure everyone's going to give him a run for his money, especially Mr. Naeem for at least the race win today.
Oh, it's Naeem Racing.
He was here last week, or the week before, so I'm hoping it's all right.
He came here for Bathurst, but I don't think he's here for this race. But currently, how it's looking, we've just started qualifying. These drivers are now on their first flying laps, as we're on board with J-Max at the infamous Hungaroring. Some people call it Monaco without the walls, although I'd like to disagree with that. I don't think it's anything like Monaco. I think you can race a little bit more here. It is a tight circuit, very old school kind of circuit, but comparing it to Monaco, I think it's a bit of a stretch, as J-Max now goes towards turn 4. Very ballsy corner this one. You gotta be very aggressive on throttle and hope the car stays within track limits. As now he goes out, manages turn 5, hugs that wall, and out he goes into the infamous RNG chicane. And don't want to take too much curb. That is these little sausage curbs that can really destabilize the car, but looks like J-Mags in the big Bentley manages just fine as he goes around turn 9 now. This has got some very, very nice flow to this track. In fact, this is one of my favorite parts of this circuit. Just left, and right again. Very aggressive on throttle. It's almost pinned that section, but I'm not sure about the Bentley as he now manages turn 12 heavy on the brakes. Slowly trails off, hits the apex. Out he goes into turn 13. Another one of these wide sweeping turns. And you want to hug the inside here. Get on the gas as soon as possible. Hit that outside curb. And as he now goes again to another wide sweeping corner, which is the last corner of this track, goes around out as far as he can, back on the gas, and that will be our first lap of this session. It's going to be a 44.7. He's just warming up as Babby already in the 43.1s. Okay then, Babby now is second ahead of J-Mags in the 43.1s, and I'm wondering if he can hit the 42s here, Cam.
Definitely a possibility, because first lap is pretty much a low 43 down, getting close to the 43 dead mark as well. Unfortunately, I don't think it'll happen this lap with a Porsche just in front of him, and he won't be allowed to overtake unless if that car's on a valid lap. Let's jump down to Damiano Fercolini, one of our Porsche stalwarts, and Porsche's generally had a good track record around this track, but we'll see what can be produced on today. We know they're coming up to now turn 11 and then turn 12, and then there'll be 13 and 14, these two long sweeping almost hairpins, which should definitely induce a little bit of understeer for the front engine cars. I'm sure they probably one of the stronger points for the Porsche with the short acceleration zones, being able to get the power on and having good rotation in the chassis and the shorter wheelbase as well. So we'll see what Damiano puts down on his banker. First lap in is obviously nothing to compare to right now. It's great to see we have still 20 cars pretty much nearly out there. Nearly 20 cars, goes up to P3, 1.1 behind Babby as well. But everyone's a little bit far off. We did see, I believe, one of the Ferraris take pole in split yellow. So it'll be interesting to see if David Barker can replicate that. And same another one for Maranello, as we go and follow Jacob Maggs in the Bentley. Obviously a little bit of personal bias for me. It looks like he's about to crack into the 143s, but still a way off Mr. Babby as well, still in the 44.
Yeah, I've heard the Bentley. A lot of people say it's they say, well, I want to say there's only one person that I'm talking to right now is currently driving the Bentley in sprints, and he's currently in split red, but he's not enjoying that car around here as we're looking at J-Rad, and currently J-Rad almost a second up. He's currently in a on a 44.9, but he's going to have a massive improvement here as he's going to be in the 44.2s, which is good enough for P5, and he's probably got more in the tank there. So J-Rad, the last couple races, has actually been very, very impressive driving-wise. He's been very, very quick. Not sure what's happened, but after that heartbreak of a race at Spa, I think something flicked, and he's really become really quick as there's cars off the track left and right, as we're now looking at Sicanius, which is apparently an AM driver. He is not an AM driver. I'm pretty sure Sicanius is a silver driver, so ignore that, but he's currently 3/10 up as he goes around turn 5. It's a lot of wide sweeping corners here as he now has to manage the chicane in the big BMW. It looks like he struggled a bit on entry there, but it's still good enough to find some time as he now manages turn 8 and turn 9, my favorite section of track. Once again, left, right, left again, and this one right there is full noise around here. Little lift here, little brake. Perhaps he started braking a bit more than he needed to here, but he's still up on the delta as he's now half a second up. We might see Sicanius here hitting the 43s as he manages turn 12, and he's still finding a lot of time here, Sicanius, as now he goes around the 2 hairpin-like wide sweeping corners, and he's finding massive amounts of time there. He does lose out a bit on the exit there. He still has one more corner to manage, and he's lost a bit on entry, lost a bit on exit. He might be able to just dip into the 43s here, and he does. That is a 43.960 for George Sicanius. That is an absolute giga lap for our BMW driver here. Now we're looking at Noah Reinhardt also livery not showing earlier, but now we can see the beautiful livery inspired by cars, as he's now on a 44.7, and I can confirm that he is an AM driver, so that's a fantastic effort. And let's see what else he has in the tank. He's currently sitting in P11 as J-Mag's now going back around through the chicane. He has found a 10th. In fact, he's found a bit of time to chicane there. He's almost 3/10 up. He's 2.5 up as he manages again the fast section of this track. He's closely followed behind by Mr. Hislop, John Hislop, as he currently 3/10 up. He is also finding a lot of time, so he must have had a bit of a mistake here last time out, as we're looking at Damiano. Damiano looking for a 43 here, and it is good enough for a 43.965. So between him and P2, there is 5 thousandths between the both of them, but J-Mag's on a banker of a lap, as he now has one more corner to manage, and he is finding more time here, and he does find time on entry. Can he find time on exit? And unfortunately on exit does lose out a bit, but he's still up. He's still 2.7 seconds, 2.7 tenths up, and it's going to be good enough for 43.917. So still almost 8 tenths away from Babby. So Babby absolutely flying out there.
Yeah, phenomenal bankers, considering that was his first flying lap as well from Glory Babby. Really kind of a league of his own right now. We have seen the Fords have been able to produce a very good performance, as we saw with Josh Vediger in Split Yellow. We're following out J-Rad. Going to get about a 10th on the books right now, but I'm sure it's going to be focusing about next lap, getting closer to a 43. So you're in for a good time if you can at least get a 43. I'm going to be at top 5 at this moment. We'll see if Glory Babby can improve any further. Berkeley is kind of slowly finding time. Everyone's kind of building up a little bit more, kind of finding the limits, finding where the track evolution is going. And definitely, it's a lot of time to be gained around this track. It is quite a few corners. We're up to 15 corners and very technical as well. And so we talked about these last 2 long sweeping corners, but also the whole run from turn 8 all the way to turn 11 definitely favors a lot more the say aerodynamically better balanced cars, such as the mid-engine like McLarens and Ferraris. Berkeley unfortunately losing that time, but he will have at least 2 chances at the cherry if he's got the fuel. Rob Underwood right now in the 131 BMW in P8 doing an excellent job so far. 2 tenths up on this lap. Let's see if he can recreate it successfully, unlike unfortunately his livery that's got lost in the wash somewhere. But he's going around turn 13 so far, and yeah, qualifying is very important around here. It's not impossible to pass, but it's one of the strongest ones. Oh, the tail gets out, he gets it up on the inside curb, and unfortunately kills the run for this lap, but he will have time again. David Barker, let's see what he can do.
Barker currently sitting in P6 with a 44.1. I'm sure he has more in the tank, as he will get another lap after this one, if my math is correct. Should cross the line before that timer runs out, but he's currently half a tenth up, and he still has half the track to go as he goes for a chicane. Ferrari seems to be managing it pretty well. I've heard the Ferrari is a very, very good car here, and this is probably one of the sectors why it's a very, very good car. It's extremely grippy. It loves these flowy, kind of wide, high-speed corners. That car absolutely loves this, and currently he does lose time here around the exit of which corner is that? What's my track map? Turn 11, sorry. As he now manages turn 12, does find the time back as he goes around turn 13, loses it on entry, but gains massively on exit. He almost got 3/10, but I say that, but he ends up losing it again, and he has one more corner to manage, and he's currently 2/10 up, 2.5 up. This will be good enough for a 43, and it's a 43 now 2-0. So all these drivers, except for Babby, hanging around the 43.9s. Track temperature is 26 degrees, so it's kind of warm, not super warm. We've seen worse before, but it is not cool either. So these laps are much harder to get as you're losing. You don't have as much grip as you normally would. Your aero is not as effective as the air is more thin. Your engine loses a bit of power. It's just all these factors that makes lapping around in warmer temperatures just a little bit slower. But Barker, going around for his final laps, does find a bit of time here around turn 4. And turn 5, as he manages it there, he's 1/10 up. So if he manages to make it stick, he might be fast enough. In fact, he will be fast enough to take P2, as Mags has decided that's enough for qualifying. It does say he's invalid, but I think that's just Kunos things, as usual. He did lose a bit of time there at the exit of turn 11. Goes very wide there as he manages turn 10 now. Let's see if he can find that time back around turn 11, and he does find that time back. It's a massive gain as he's almost 4/10 up. Now he only has 3 more corners to manage as he has to do turn 12, and he finds time on entry there, and he keeps it on exit mostly. Now he only has 2 more corners to manage, and again finds massive amount of time there as there's a Lamborghini that's pulled off track. He's currently 4.2 tenths up as he again finds... Oh no, he wasn't valid. Oh, that would have been a massive lap from Barker. Unfortunately, it was not to be for the Ferrari driver, and he will have to settle for P3.
Definitely unfortunate, but unfortunately, definitely warranted with invalidating his lap. Unfortunately, he didn't find the time earlier, but is what it is. But it is going to be Glory Babby on pole and surefire the strongest candidate for the win. But definitely a long race to go. An interesting first corner as well. It's tend to be a little bit hectic at times, especially in the mid pack. But we'll see what these guys can produce. Excellent job from George Sakanius. Granted, not an AM driver, but did a very good job in the BMW. We got Damiano Fercolini in P5 and J-Rad in P6. I believe that is Godfrey in the Lamborghini, the number 8 car as well, doing a good job in the Pro-Am car. Sorry, Godfrey, I believe, is in the McLaren. But yeah.
The synonymous... Yeah. The synonymous liveried McLaren that's always looking at you.
It's Mr. McLeod, of course, in the Lamborghini, my correction. But yeah, stay away, edge ever closer away from that McLaren. But a Hislop as well there in, I believe, P10. So yeah, a little bit of a smaller grid. Good job as well to Blake Griffiths and Noah Reinhardt, actually lined up side by side as our commentators from Split Yellow, doing an excellent job and having to duck in quickly for Split Green. It's never not the most ideal preparation, but we'll see how things go. And I'm not too sure, is that Callum Lloyd at the back there, our recent Thermaltake's mouse winner from Split Yellow? So congratulations to them.
It is in fact Callum Lloyd in the infamous Audi R8 GT3. Not the easiest car to drive. I do like the livery. It's the wireframe when you decide to make a livery for a car. I decided, you know what, I'll use the wireframe and turn it into a livery. So very unique. I like it. I very, very much like it. As There's still 50 seconds to go before session start. Anyways, what are your opinions on Hungaroring?
I'm a bit of a fan of the track. It is definitely not an easy track for sure. But yeah, personally, it's got my vote. I generally like the older school tracks. It's got a lot of undulation as well, which I think is key for a good track. As touched on before, it's not the easiest track to make a move. It's definitely not one for its longest straights, but yeah, definitely one on my book. What about yourself?
It's a middle ground for me. I don't hate it. In fact, I actually find it pretty fun, but it's not my favorite. As the other tracks I'd rather drive. But I find it pretty fun. Like you said, the elevation changes, all that stuff. It's a very big key into making a good racetrack. I do really like the flow, except, yeah, there's other tracks I prefer, unfortunately. But it's not the worst.
Bloody Amaral Naim said, are we racing today? I forgot Lamau is in the chat. You still got time. Quickly, do a last to first challenge. I reckon you can do it, Amaral. But yes, a little bit late there, to say the least. And surely going to give Glory Babby a free run, but not to say that Mags and Barker will not be trying to upset that. But yeah, on for a formation lap. Just a reminder, it's going to be a 45-minute race. No mandatory stop for fuel only. So we're expecting a lot of drivers to basically go almost to the 5 minutes, go as long as they can, so they can have the shortest amount of fuel top up come the end of the race.
Yeah, it is not a fixed fuel timer, so taking tires is not ideal. There's one driver last race. You did not have to say his name. I forgot to untake
also
tire
known
change.
As Luke E.
You forgot to untake tire change.
Yellow.
Oh, he's
Lives
gonna
on
get
this street.
Gotta get bullied for a while for that. Yeah, so don't forget to untake tire changes. Unless you want to take tires, I don't see why you would want to. But it's not fixed fuel timer, so you don't lose 5 seconds for changing tires. You're gonna lose more like 25 seconds or so. So don't do it. Don't do it. As these drivers are now negotiating turn 11, and soon enough they'll go double file as they do right now. And I think I'm gonna hand off the race start to you, Cam.
Thank you very much, Tim. And yeah, big shout out as well, Thermaltake. Thank you very much for sponsoring us. We do appreciate all our partners as well. Speaking of partners, Go Setups affiliates link as well. We got a 5% discount code. Use Octane5, all one word, lowercase, for Go Setups for a 5% discount. And a thanks to our lovely our patrons as well, helping us keep the lights on, helping us keeping us supported. We appreciate all of you. But steady on now, we're here to go racing here at the Hungaroring. It's going to be the inside line for Glory Babby as he takes his pole position for round 5 here at the Hungaroring. Crossing the beam line, waiting for the green lights. They're still waiting, and we're green as David Barker gets a good start. Draws alongside now Jacob Maggs in the Bentley. Maybe going to give Glory Babby a little sniff up the inside, but well, Fercolini is looking for a gap between the two, and the BMW of Sicanius loses out, and Fercolini gets pushed wide there a little bit from Barker as well, so he's going to be losing out to turn 2 with the other BMW. Great start from Underwood as well in the mismatched colours. Going around the outside now of Fercolini, but he's definitely going to lose out, but he's gone from P8 all the way up to, I believe, P5. So an excellent start. We've got a few yellows at the back, so we'll see if there's a pending safety car right now, but excellent job from everyone on the grids for so far. Car 29, I believe that is Callum Lloyd. So we've got one casualty so far, but it looks like he's getting going again, but he's going to be Glory Babby leading from now on, followed by Mr. Jacob Maggs in the Bentley, David Barker in the Ferrari, Demiano Fercolini, and the two BMWs of Underwood and Sicanius. So pretty clean start overall, Tim.
Yeah, that was a very clean start. Those lights, it felt like they came green very, very late. I don't know about you, but I feel like they go green much earlier than that normally.
Absolutely as well. The timing line can sometimes be a little bit weird with whoever the game decides is the leader. Alex Pasnow there, a great start from him as well, up into P7. I believe he started P11 in the Ferrari, so getting a very good jump ahead of the Lamborghini of McLeod as they negotiate now turn 13, coming up to turn 14 as well, about to end the first lap here for turn 5. A little bit of a bad run there from the Bentley driver, so David Barker is going to have a good run now. It's not the longest run, as the Bentley likes to have good acceleration, so it'll be weighing on David Barker's mind if he should go for it. He looks to the inside, surrounds the mirrors, but Jacob Max isn't falling for it as well, didn't outbrake himself and gets a good run, still going down to P2, turn 2 in the Bentley.
Looks like we have a couple drivers in the pits. It looks like Callum Lloyd's decided to go in the pits, but I think J-Rad had a bit of a connection issue because it was only 18 cars on the grid and now it's 19 cars, and J-Rad has suddenly showed back up. So that's very much a bit of a heartbreak for the McLaren driver. He had fantastic pace, but let's see what he can do once he goes out the pit. Perhaps he just wants the points. There's still points for grab even if you're P19, and that could make or break the championship, the Pro-Am championship, as I think he is up there for that championship, battling the likes of Brock Godfrey and other names that I can't remember. As we're currently looking at Brock Godfrey sitting on P9 with that McLaren, slowly just hunting that Lamborghini down. That's another rival of his. Currently McLeod leading the Pro-Ams around. But let's see, it's still 42 minutes of racing to go. It's not the end yet. I'm wondering if we're going to see other drivers decide to pit early. We've seen one driver already pit early, and that will be Callum Lloyd. Decided get the pit stop out the way, get back on track, get some clean air, and perhaps it might even work for him.
Potentially is the case, but I get the feeling his pit stop might have been induced by the damage. Fastest lap now for Jacob Max, so clearly finding a bit of speed there in the Bentley. But David Barker's still not far off the rear as well. On board with Alex Pass now, having a look at George Sicanius. He's equally having a look at Rob Underwood as well. Excellent start. I said it before, but I'll say it again from the 131 silver BMW. Doing a good job right now. We go now into turn 2. And yeah, Mr. Barker is still there. He looks like he's kind of got the pace a little bit right now. Not necessarily if it's any more or any less than Mr. Mags, as he is running the fastest lap. But generally, if you can stick this close, it's a good indicator, because it's not the easiest track to follow. We don't get the wash of some of the higher, more downforce cars and other series, but you do start to feel it through some of these corners, and I dare say these next 4 corners are some of the worst for it. They're not necessarily the highest speed, but they're just high enough where the front error really starts to matter.
As we do have a replay from the race start here, we're currently looking at Blake Griffiths, and there's a McLaren. Oh, that's very, very naughty from that McLaren. And I expect a pretty hefty invoice for that one. I'm not sure what's happened there, but it looked like they completely missed their braking and somehow tried to take evasive action. But it was not to be, and they ended up turning into a bowling ball here. So that will definitely get looked at by the stewards, as we now have Barker really on the rear end of the Bentley of Mags and looking for a potential overtake. Now, this is not the longest straight in ACC, and I wonder if the Ferrari has the legs, and unfortunately it does not have the legs to catch up to the Bentley. Now, Bentley does not have the best top speeds, but it does have very good acceleration. Again, we're looking at a replay from that McLaren, and it looks like they just went bowling to the side of 3 cars there, so that's unfortunate for these drivers. In fact, they take out the Audi of Callum Lloyd. So that's going to be a very hefty invoice, I suspect, for that McLaren. But let's see what the stewards have to say about it, as they can take a proper look at the incident. We're going to keep commentating between this battle for P2 currently. Barker currently on the back of that Bentley, just hasn't had the opportunity to make a move yet. Could also be that decide, you know what, I'm just going to save my tires a bit here. Just take it easy. We have 38 minutes of racing left to go. We still have a pit stop to go. I could very much undercut him or overcut him. We will see. We've seen Barker does have the pace. He's been on the rear end of the Bentley since race starts, as Babby currently has the fastest lap and is taking off in the distance now. They're basically almost hot lapping on their own. They're not quite in the clear yet. If they get into some kind of incident of their own, they could very much lose that P1, but they're building a very healthy gap, as we do have another replay here of another incident. It looks like a Ferrari just losing it on the exit there and spinning, as we do get our first penalty of the race. It was a 5-second penalty for being out of position on race start.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's Saeem, I believe, in P8 right now in the 26 Ferrari. And unfortunately, out of position, will suffer a consequence. And yeah, unfortunately, that turn 2 collision at the start of the race, the McLaren really did a great job going bowling. I'm not sure, I didn't quite catch which McLaren that was. I know we got J-Rad, but I believe he is in an orange and blue car, so I don't think that was his colours. So I'm not going to comment too far if I'm not certain who it is. Don't want to throw someone else under the bus unnecessarily. But yeah, surely a very big whack coming from the stewards in equal proportion to what they did on track. But I did see also AAA, I believe, sorry, we also just saw the replay of AAA, I believe Alex passed in the Ferrari. Unfortunately, trying to get past the George Sicanius that we see on track, and just, I believe, hooked a wheel on the inside curb. And yeah, generally the cars don't like that, especially the TCs, and they tend to induce a lot of slip, and we saw the result of it. So no real harm in terms of damage, but a lot in terms of the overall position on track. And as you said, it's going to be a lot of work for them to undo that. We have seen Jacob Max and David Barker making a few backs and forths. I think in particular Barker really catches the Bentley through this part of the track, where the front engine of the Bentley does start to induce a little bit of understeer, and it is tricky to get that thing rotated. But the Bentley does have really good acceleration once it gets its power down, which is giving it a lot of mid-torque grunt down this straight and keeping him just at bay, I think, out of the grasp of the Ferrari, not close enough to really make a dive.
Abby ahead, just absolutely flying, currently set the fastest lap of the race, and that lap he just set would have been good enough to be pole for qualifying. So Babby absolutely flying out there. They're just showing off now. And that's what they're doing. They've basically got the championship on their belt, and they're just showing off, as we do have a nice battle between Sicanius and the Lamborghini of McLeod. And Sicanius does make a very, very nice move down the inside there, very clean. And McLeod being very respectful, giving them the racing room there. And that's overtake done for what appears to be P6.
Yeah, good job there from the BMW driver. I believe he was defending his position, so clearly something's gone on at turn 1. Seeing Ben Oliver now, but actually, a mediocre run coming out of turn 5, and is going to give the Lambo a sniff up the inside, but he realizes he doesn't really have too much of a stake in that, and doesn't cause an unnecessary collision, keeps his nose out of it. But they're surely going to be time ticking for the BMW driver. Jacob Maggs now, as I said, still looking behind. I've been half expecting David Barker to maybe give it a few cents, but from his perspective, the Bentley is we're about 2 car lengths ahead, and it's not like some of the days of F1 where you can really outbrake other cars. It's quite a significant feat in these cars to do a late dive. It's generally a bit frowned upon at times as well, not because it's impossible, but it generally marks someone out as being a little bit inexperienced, because yeah, the braking difference between some of these cars is not that significant.
Yep, definitely agree. And the difference in braking performance as well. And he takes him out. Oh, and he almost collects Damiano as well. So yeah, Mag's not really doing anything wrong there. He's just out the brake and almost got collected by Damiano. But that's going to put him way down the order. Just Mag has not had the best of the season. He's had a few races now where he's been caught up in incidents. None of his fault. Those are just misjudging, and unfortunately he's spinning the number 86 Bentley around. But Barker currently lost position to Damiano as well. Damiano now sits at P2, And Barker's in P3. I'm wondering what's happened there. They're like, oh yeah, he loses the rear end again here in the game.
I think he wants to redress, but he hasn't. He started and he hasn't got through it completely.
As really not much he could have done redress-wise. If we're going to be honest, and we do have a play up in the inside here. Dives down the inside. It's just, yeah, it takes out Mag there. There's nothing else Mag really could have done. But we do have a drive-through for the number 380. I think that's the McLaren we saw on race start that went bowling. So they do end up getting a drive-through for that incident, and unfortunately that's gonna cost them a lot, as they will have to come again for another pit stop for their actual fuel stops. So that's really going to put them down the order.
Yeah, it's a quite significant punishment, but for a quite significant collision, I have to say, as he made a unfortunate contact with at least, I think, 3 cars. But yeah, that was quite unfortunate between Barker and Mags. It was only kind of a collision very late into the corner, and I think that's because Mags kind of had to maybe tighten his line a little bit more just to make sure he got a good exit. And I think Mags on foot, the Ferrari was just a little bit kind of put himself in the wrong position, and unfortunately with ACC, just the smallest of taps can have the biggest of punts.
Yeah, it's pretty infamous for it now, isn't it?
That said, though, in real life, to be honest, you'd probably knock a canard off, and that with these modern GT3s, that seems to destroy the balance and the radiators and everything. Anyway, you're a mechanic. You must have some experience in that regards.
Yeah, I mean, modern GT3s are not like the good old days of GT3s. You're correct. They're very, very aero dependent nowadays, and any imbalance in that aero, yeah, just the car does not like it. It's not like the old days where aero was basically useless. I'm talking like 80s, 90s. Back then, aero wasn't as important as it is now on these cars. They're borderline single-seater cars when it comes to aero, these new GT3s. If you've ever driven something like the Ferrari, it's just absolutely gripped up in these high-speed corners, doesn't lose its rear end. So yeah, the imbalance in the aero completely destabilizes the car.
Yes, back in the day when aero was just to stop cars taking off rather than actually producing downforce, if anything. But yeah, unfortunately, there's a lot of channeling throughout the front of the cars, brake cooling, radiator cooling, all sorts, channeling the front aero dam, the splitters, the canards, all sorts of things to be destroyed and go wrong, sadly. But it is what it is, and that's also why some of these cars, like this Ferrari, the new Evo spec, over 700,000 euros today only, and tomorrow, and the rest of the time.
I remember the days where GT racing was quote-unquote affordable. 700,000 euros for a race car. That is pretty bonkers, if I'm gonna be honest here. But obviously, it's not a dying class. We've seen a lot of GT racing lately. It's really been popping up with obviously with WEC in the LMGT3 class, but also 24 Hours of Spa. It's still up there in racing. In fact, I think it's even more popular. It's as popular as it is now, and that's thanks to games such as ACC as well. And obviously, it's not as popular as something like Formula 1, but it's definitely gaining in popularity.
Yeah, I think it's in. Despite the rising cost, it's in a good place to see. Same defending from McLeod as well. Into that corner, had a good run at the car, but yeah, definitely rising in costs. But there are people still willing to pay. You know, it's generally okay if you have rising costs if people are still paying for them. And, hopefully, costs don't get too crazy. To be honest, when I'm running a race car, buying the car is probably the cheap bit. Running it is a very different ball game.
Yeah, I'm not going to, but I could talk about the outside costs all day when it comes to running. Not even a GT3, just a TA2, which is supposed to be a affordable GT. Sim rigs are, you know what? Even sim rigs are not that cheap. I thought, yeah, I bought a rig, I bought a wheel, though I could afford it, and then you add the costs up, like, wow, I could have bought a second-hand car. Gotcha. But yeah, they're definitely much cheaper than GT racing, and you know, this might not be the real thing, but the racing definitely is there, and it's definitely a great alternative. Sim racing has not been in a better spot than it is now, with obviously other titles that OR do run. We do have a Le Mans Ultimate Series, and that game is rising in popularity. Hopefully we'll get our local servers soon, but we're not talking about LMU here. We're talking about Split Green, as we're currently looking at Siamim. Currently holding off McLeod, but they do have a 5-second penalty that they will have to serve in their pit stop. So all these penalties you're seeing there will have to get served in their pit stop. So it's going to absolutely ruin the strategies of some of these drivers, Barker being one of them. They're going to have to be stationary for approximately 20 seconds. So that's almost the amount of time you'd have to stay stationary for a fixed fuel timer. Fixed fuel usually is 25 seconds, and he's going to have to stay in there for around 20 seconds. So that is not ideal, especially on a 45-minute race where you won't have the time to make that 15 seconds back up.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a big dent, and dare say in a better position than some of the other drivers. We've seen a drive through a few 15 seconds being handed out, obviously rightfully so, in comparison to their accidents or aforementioned incidents, but yeah, definitely noticeable. And yeah, I won't start talking about Le Mans Ultimate because we all know how that one will go. But we'll enjoy what we have right now. And yeah, as much as sim rigs are expensive, at least you don't have to fill the sim rigs with race fuel, which costs like $20 to $25 a litre.
So
From what I've heard of what race fuel does cost these days.
Yeah, nah, I've seen the bill. It's definitely wallet hurting, but it smells good. I know I'm not supposed to smell it, but it does smell good. That's probably why I am the way I am, but I am getting corrected by our friendly Tawfiq. It's pronounced Shah, so it's Shamim, not Siamim, but I'm still probably butchering the name. I apologize if I am doing that, but we're currently looking at the battle between George Sicanius and J-Mags. J-Mags currently sitting at P5, so he's made a couple positions back up. He has one more car to get up ahead, and that would be Rob Underwood in front of him, as we do have a battle for P7 between Shamim and McLeod. But yeah, Shamim goes very, very deep. It's good enough for McLeod to get a bit closer, but just not good enough for him to have a proper run on him. If you look just ahead, that's Sicanius and J-Mags right up ahead. So Shamim is really in a, I wouldn't say in a good spot, but if he keeps up with this pace, perhaps he might even be able to get Sicanius here. But I think his main worries are the Lamborghini behind him, as Sicanius will be focused on catching J-Mags if he can. J-Mags obviously has had an insane pace. Perhaps not insane, that might not be the correct word, but he's been very fast. He was sitting P2 at one point until the unfortunate incident between him and Barker, but I think he's at least got one position. If his pit stop goes right, he will get to P4. One driver that's really going to benefit from this and has a potential podium finish here is Rob Underwood, which is currently sitting at P4, and that 15-second penalty is going to massively benefit him, as we do have a Ferrari here spinning into the wall, and that car is not going to like that. But damage does not seem to be massive. Perhaps a bit of understeer here and there, but we do have the number 26 Ferrari coming in now for their pit stops, and hopefully they'll be at the speed limit as they cross that white line. But now that has released McLeod into chasing the big Bentley and that BMW in front of him, and I suspect McLeod might actually follow him into the pits within the next couple of laps here.
Yeah, quite an early stop, I have to say. Like, he's going to have to put a bit of fuel in there. I mean, not necessarily that he doesn't have the fuel to stop a lot later and only has to top up a few liters, but surprising to do the stop this early if he has fuel for later, which might suggest he obviously is fueled for boxing now, which will be a longer stop because more fuel has to go in. It's obviously, I think, about a minimum of at least 3 seconds stationary, even for 1 liter, as the fuel bowser gets connected. But yeah, like Jacob Mag's trying to find his paces a little bit again. He was kind of on the defense there from Sicanius, but now starting to edge away again. I don't think his tyres were necessarily too affected. Maybe the rear right was maybe a little bit scrubbed from that half spin, but as I said, it was a very, pretty much nearly a half spin at a somewhat pedestrianary speed for these cars, so I don't think it would have done too much damage. It's just more so kind of hurts your rhythm and form, which is sometimes affects you more than your actual damage, I find. But going along now, John Hislop, someone who haven't really touched on at all. He's kind of just been here, Chupatelli. Still going strong, probably has an earful of Lucas Keys, so hence why his performance is doing so badly.
It's probably getting code Gorilla in the TeamSpeak chat. Little shout out to Chufatelli. He's almost got affiliate. He just needs 4 more followers on Twitch. So if you have not followed Chufatelli, fantastic lad. I highly recommend his streams. He's a very nice guy. He tries to be a bully. He can't. He's just very, very, very nice. And he can't.
He's too nice sounding.
He's a gentleman.
He has a cat as well sometimes. There you go. That's a reason to go watch his Twitch.
Does have an adorable cat. Has a picture of that cat in the tiniest of boxes, and the cat's just sitting in it. It's absolutely adorable. But we saw McLeod there at turn 2 get a bit of a slide there, so that they've been doing some mistakes here and there. That's just going to give Chufatelli the opportunity to just get that little bit closer and perhaps look for an overtake on the Lamborghini. I've not seen the Porsches perform too well here, but as I'm saying that, we do have a Porsche in P2. So perhaps last split. At the same time, the Porsche is not having as much luck. But apart from Turcolini, the next Porsche is currently in P8. So perhaps not the best Porsche track here, which is surprising. I thought the Porsche would have been pretty strong here. We've got a lot of these short straights where the Porsche can really make use of its acceleration advantage. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not an expert on the car. Perhaps there's other reasons why. Probably the chicane or something, and car touching the chicane just means into the wall for the Porsche. I'm not sure, but we're currently back at that battle between J-Mags and Sicanius. It looks like J-Mags just slowly closing on Underwood, and this will very soon be a 3-way battle, as we see in the background the Porsche of Sicanius. So it looks like, yep, McLeod has decided to come in for his pit stop and do the overcut on or undercut. I keep forgetting which one is I think it's overcut on Shamim, which is currently sitting in P16. So that's what we should keep an eye on, see where he comes out, see if he comes out ahead of the Ferrari driver, as the Lamborghini currently is still stationary. And now they started moving again, so let's see where they end up. As Shamim currently sitting, as I've lost the track map, between that battle between, I think that was P2 and P3, so I think that's Barker just on the back of that Porsche. And now we see the Porsche of Chuf managing the chicane. Let's see where McLeod has ended after his pit stop, and I can't see him anywhere. Currently sitting in P12. P13, so it looks like they've managed to get ahead of number 26 Ferrari. In fact, getting ahead pretty significantly. So I'm wondering if someone's forgot to untick tire change in that pit stop.
They have both lost out to Godfrey, that said.
Oh yeah, Godfrey absolutely jumped them.
Yeah, that doesn't add up. Not gonna lie. I'm not sure where Ben Oliver. Ben Oliver was a very early stop So I didn't place where he was before the box, but yeah, Brock Godfrey going well so far. I think Hislop and Sakanis are going to be kind of ball pairers for those where they come out. Because it's a little bit unknown right now whether they're even going to be close, because I'll say the best strategy is to go pretty much as long as you can and do a tiny little top up for the minimum amount of time, because it's just going to reduce your pit stop overall stop time, and that's going to pay dividends. But yeah, McLeod here with Sam all over the back of him. Was the hunter, now the hunted, now the hunter. Needs to make sure he doesn't do anything too silly here. A Lamborghini on a straight in its not natural habitat. Doing a bit of
what's
weaving.
going on there? That is a bit naughty.
No, yeah. Even though it's only like 1-2, it was something we don't want to see, unless it was something a little bit jovial and saying hi for the camera, which I will doubt. But yes. I'm sure if Samir was on the clued up, he'll be calling that one, because that is a reasonable thing to call out.
Yeah, that was a very, very aggressive weaving from McLeod. He was technically allowed to. Perhaps, he might be pushing the rules a little bit, but it was very, very aggressive. And if Shambim was looking,
even though aggressively he's scrubbing too much speed, he's just actually making it straight even harder for him.
Yeah, it looks like he's feeling the pressure from the Ferrari, and ignore what I said earlier. In fact, they have come out side by side. It looks like I just got Kunost by the Delta by the driver standings, but Jamem really on the back end of that Lamborghini. McLaren has been looking like he's been struggling a bit the last few laps. He's just been losing traction left and right. So we'll see how these two end up. Hopefully it does not end up in disaster, but we might have a bit of a treat of a battle between the two Italian manufacturers here.
I was gonna say, Fercolini has had Barker all over the back of him right now. I'm hoping he doesn't want to be another recipient from the Black Ferrari, but I'm sure Barker might have learned his lesson somewhat. I feel a little bit, even though Barker was at fault, he did have to try and go for it, because it was clearly frustrating being stuck behind, but yeah, unfortunate, and definitely not the ideal, and he's really going to suffer once this pit stop. And dare say, yeah, Underwood is the next in prime position to take this podium spot, and yeah, good job from Fercolini as well. I believe he qualified P5 or P6 and might be walking away with a P2, which is definitely nothing to sniff at. But yes, Glory Babby still up there, 14 seconds away from P2 right now. Absolute Verstappening it, to say the least, and doing an excellent job.
He just has to do a spin right here. He'd be able to get away with it too.
He probably would, yeah. Wouldn't blame me anyway.
He's like 15 seconds ahead. Now it's absolutely insane in a 45-minute race. He's just on a league of his own.
45% restrictor for Ford, please. Make it an EcoBoost cylinder.
I disagree. How about that? As we do have Maisuara getting another DT, but I think this time it's a DT for track limit, so they're not having a good race here. As now Mags really getting on the pedal, putting pressure on Rob Underwood here.
Oh, and has got a DT as well now.
Oh no, this is around the time where we'll see drivers use up their speed tokens, and now it's if you go off track and get an advantage, well, have fun with the drive-through penalty. It's surprisingly easy here to go off track, I will admit. Even with as lenient as some of the track limits are, to get the times, you really gotta push the car. This chicane right here is very, very easy to invalidate here as well. But it's looking
they keep wanting to use the speed coupons, and they're using the wrong coupons. Use the 5% discount coupon of Octane 5 at Go Setups.
I've got one better. How about the 10% coupon for Thermaltake, which is, I think it's just Octane. I think the code's just Octane. For a 10% discount at Thermaltake, if you've seen earlier, they've got some beast a beast of a PC. In fact, I need to get a new PC, and I think I'm going to hit up Thermaltake for my next PC, because that thing looks absolutely massive. They have this little bracket for the GPU. That's how heavy these modern GPUs are. They've got these little brackets just to make sure they don't fall over. It's absolutely massive. And Thermaltake can build my PC for me because I am too lazy to build a computer nowadays. I do not have the patience to build a computer. I feel like I'm gonna break something with my mechanic hands.
You work on cars, it's the same thing.
Yeah, but you can be a lot more aggressive on a car than you can with a $1,000 GPU. I'd rather let the professionals at Thermaltake do it for me, and that's another thing is cable management. I am terrible at it, and they can take care of that for me.
Cars, that's the same thing. Wiring looms.
Yeah,
basically mechanics. Mechanics do what they do just for the odd chance they get to smash something with a hammer one day.
I've had to do that before. Oddly satisfying, but. Currently the battle between J-Mags and Underwood. So far, J-Mags been keeping the same distance to Underwood, just not finding the opportunity. Underwood driving very well here, not giving J-Mags the opportunity for a pass just yet. But with 12 minutes of racing to go, these two still need to do their pit stops. I'm willing to bet J-Mags is waiting for Underwood to go into the pit stop and then pit 2 laps later and hopefully jump Underwood for P3 potentially. Most probably P3, as Barker is only 8 seconds ahead. Oh, it does look down the inside here. Underwood starting to stay out still, and they've only got just under 12 minutes now, so these two will have to start thinking about pitting soon.
Yes, quite soon for these two, and yeah, definitely struggling to make a move on this BMW. It seems to be a decent track for the BMW, and that's maybe a bit of a rare thing these days. I think like the Porsche, maybe a good car for the circuit, but unlike the Porsche, I feel like the BMW hasn't been bopped as much. I feel like the Porsche was a good car, and it's probably some esports driver did an insane lap and just ruined the bop for it.
Here we go, Bob talk. I love Bob talk. As we talk about the Bob, J-Max just getting really on the rear bumper of Underwood. I think he's getting impatient because that gap between Underwood and Barker is really starting to grow. Underwood is 8 seconds behind, so still a chance that Barker might be able to hold on to P3. But yeah, J-Max really impatient. He's really pushing it now. But if he's gotta stop making mistakes like this, because if you look behind, you have the BMW of Sekanius really starting to close in now. So he might have other issues on hand now as he does get just ever so slightly closer Sekanius. So J-Max not in the clear from losing a position either, and in fact he's given Underwood a bit of breathing room, and now his main concern will be Sekanius behind him.
Yeah, a bit of an error there as was on the back of the BMW, and even though the BMW had a big sideways moment, still managed to get a good exit, and unfortunately the Bentley missed his braking zone a little bit. The second lap, I would have just been lazy and cut the corner. Who's gonna notice? Someone on the stream.
Wondering if any of these drivers are gonna pull a Scarny strat. I wonder if a Scarny strat is even possible here, but if they do, it could be massive, but I'm not sure if the stewards are going to allow it. We've seen drivers do it in the past. Perhaps you're going to see it this race. And now J-Mags is going to try and hunt down Underwood again. Hopefully Sekanius not Scarny strat won't work at this pit lane. Thank you, Bignett. Benjamin Ignat. I did not it won't work at this pit lane. It works at Laguna Seca and some other tracks. I think Imola or something. I think it's where you cross the start-finish line that matters with that strat. But it won't work here apparently, so we will not be seeing it. Good job, Tim, as we're now on board with Underwood, and J-Mags starting to close up once again. But he's only got 8 minutes and 45 seconds to do so. Again, these two do need to pit, and J-Mag is probably going to be hoping that Underwood pits soon, so he can make his strat work. I'm assuming he's waiting for Underwood to pit before he pits, and he's hoping that he can also get a lot closer to Barker, because Barker now is only 10 seconds. Is already 10 seconds ahead of Underwood, so now he's quote-unquote technically he's got only a 5-second penalty to the guys behind. Obviously it's still 15 seconds, but he's only going to lose 5 seconds to the guys behind from that penalty if they stay out, and there's still 8 minutes to go. So anything could still happen, but J-Mag really, I think, is, dare I say, a little bit annoyed he can't get around the BMW, as he does sniff around the inside, showing his car, just letting Underwood know he's right there. But so far it's not worked for the Bentley driver.
Yeah, absolutely not. And meanwhile, obviously, Glory Babby is still extending his lead out there, and I believe, depending on where Jacob Max finishes this race, Babby, with his lead 126 points over Mags currently in the standings, is I think going to be safe to maybe take the championship at this current stage, even with Barker with his penalty, because I believe it's only a maximum of 150 points for a win, but we do have to tack on, I believe, extra 5 points for qualifying as well. So potentially could be champion-elect already at the end of this race if things stand, but we won't confirm things until obviously next week, when the results will be quantified.
I can do some quick maths. I'll try to do quick maths. Just give me one moment.
Potentially, we just don't know what drop rounds these guys are gonna have. I believe, unless it changes for the last round. So that's why I just never bother. I never want to try and guarantee anything anymore.
It's whatever your worst round was, which for Babby currently it's Bathurst. So Babby has finished P2 at Bathurst, and that's funny to say P2 is your drop round. That's just how fast he is. That's he lost out to Amaral Name in that race. But Babby's current net points, he currently has 462 points, and J-Mags has 336. So there is a point difference of 126 points between the two of them. So it is not out. It's not in the bag yet, because you do get 158 points for a win. So if Babby for some reason disconnects here and misses out the next race, J-Mags could very much take this championship. But if it stays as it is, and Babby decides to finish this race, I think we will see our split green winner if everything stays as it is now.
Yeah, especially as Jacob Max right now is his closest opponent in the standings. I think it's on set for P4 at best, maybe P3 if Underwood has any troubles. Even so, I think it's 100 points for race finish in P4. Not sure what P3 get. 115, so it could be close. Just if I don't guarantee it, I can't be wrong.
Exactly, that's the best part. Just don't guarantee it, and you're never wrong. Even if you're technically wrong, you didn't guarantee it, so that you win in the end.
Right.
Yeah, J-Mags did end up going in the pits, and there's still a bunch of drivers with 4 minutes to go not pitting, and Underwood deciding to stay out, and no, he decides to come back in, and he tried to ooh, I forgot the word.
Godfrey only 1 second behind Max after those stops. That's quite interesting.
I have to
So,
see
Godfrey's
where these
really
two.
made a lot of positions, or we'll see if Max has lost time by willing to bet on the former.
I'm very interested what's going on in pit lane now. These two have come in at the same time. Wondering if it's going to be a perfect stop. What Sicanius needs is a perfect stop, and Underwood to have a bit of a mishap. Yep. And so far it's looking like Underwood has a better stop, but Sicanius is still stationary. And he's finally moving, so it looks like Sicanius just had the less optimal stop, and he's going to lose a lot of time here to Underwood. And in fact, he's lost out on jumping Mags as well, as he does come out side by side, but it looks like Underwood had a fantastic pit stop, as the gap between him and Mags is absolutely massive, as I don't even see him on track between Mags and well, between him and Mags. Where is he? Oh, he's down the straight. He's already about to hit turn 4, as Mags. That's a massive gap between these two, so I think Mags might have had a non-optimal pit stop either. But wait, Underwood has not had his pit stop cleared. If you look at the top left, so I think he has not taken enough fuel. I think he's only taken 2 liters of fuel, and unfortunately for Rob Underwood, it's a disaster. I take back what I said. I think he got kunosed, and he did not get his pit stop through, which unfortunately he has to go back in the pit lane, which means he's going to lose approximately 30 seconds.
It's absolutely spewing for Rob Underwood right now. Definitely, I reckon, yeah, if you take at least 3 liters, you're generally safe. The 1 and 2 liters sometimes doesn't clear the pit stops for whatever reason. Perfect game, end of life. And yeah, I'd be so mad if I was Mr. Underwood. John Hislop comes into the box through his stop, has ruined Underwood's definite chance at a podium, and definitely probably going to put him down all the way into maybe the latter parts of the top 10 if he is lucky. Car 380 yellowed on track. I believe that is Mahswara.
Looks like Hislop is going to be the one benefiting from that, as he does come on side by side with, and he does have the battle with Sicanius, and looks like he does come ahead of the BMW, but will he try a move on the Bentley? Unfortunately, Bentley's just a bit too far ahead for him to make a move, but he does manage to jump Sicanius with his pit stop, so that puts Hislop in what I think is P5? Yeah, P6, but that's not counting Underwood's pit stop, which didn't count, so Underwood, unfortunately, will have to come back in for another pit stop. But that's a bit of a heartbreak. That would have been a potential first podium, but another driver that has to do a pit stop is Barker. Now I'm wondering where Barker is going to come out in this pack once he does his pit stop, because he does have a 15-second penalty. And in fact, the 3 leading cars all in the pits at the same time. Babby comes out way ahead of the rest of them.
Box again after this.
Can he not?
There's 50 seconds left, so he has to box this lap. Sorry, I didn't realize he hadn't crossed the first string. I thought he'd already crossed the line, and hadn't stopped. But no, he has to come in this lap, or it is bust. Even more so. But and if 4 of these guys can finish on the podium at this rate, 1 lap to go, who is going to take it?
I think Underwood is going to come in, and if I'm looking at
Underwood didn't box anyway. Oh no, he has boxed. Never mind. We can see him in the lane.
Looks like Barker's actually managed to stay ahead of these drivers.
They did have about a 12-second gap. So yeah, I think he's done enough. He's undone his penalty.
He's undone his penalty to J-Max, so J-Max is going to be fuming about that one. He's not going to be happy. J-Max back up in P4, but I think he just lost too much pace chasing Underwood, and unfortunately it's going to cost him P3, as Underwood does do his pit stop again and comes back out. Now, where does he come out? He comes out way back. He's behind the 11 car, so I think he's going to come out in P13. Is Mr. Underwood, as they do go side by side with the Mercedes of Blake Griffiths, but Blake Griffiths just has the edge and manages to stay ahead, and that puts them up to P13. So we see Underwood is falling down the order. That is absolutely brutal, but that is very unfortunate. He was driving a good race until then.
Yeah, he was doing a very good job, and meanwhile, Mr. Glory Barry has absolutely decimated this grid and already crossed the line to win round 5, the penultimate round of this season 22 championship. Done an absolute great job. Damiano Fercolini gonna finish P2, and on track is Mr. Barker as well. But yeah, it sucks for Mr. Mags. despite that penalty, he is the guy who tipped him has gotten away with it somewhat and only lost really one position.
Yeah, so Barker will take the final step on the podium, and Mags, unfortunately, will have to settle for P4, and that is pretty much. I would like to say, I'm not going to confirm it, but I would like to say that his championship wrapped up for Glory Babby, as even his Bathurst round was 134 points. It's just so even if he does not show up for Monza, I'm pretty sure he has done enough to wrap up the championship for Split Green.
Yep. He'll have 3 points, I believe, for fastest lap, 5 points per pole, and 150 for the win. Only 100 points, I believe, for Jacob Mags, and I want to say 4 points for his P2 qualification. So, yeah, a 54-point swing in favour of Glory Babby. I think will take him above the well above 158 that will need to basically not show up for the last race. It doesn't matter what he does in the last round, even if it'll count as his drop round, and he'll still have the lead.
Yeah, pretty much. It's a pretty entertaining race. Not as hectic as some of the races in the past, but anyways, as we have the overall results, so it'll be Glory Babby in P1 in the big Ford Mustang, followed by the Porsche driver Damiano Turcolini. The Italians close out the top three with David Barker taking his Ferrari 296 GT3 on the final step of the podium. For the Silver Championship, we have John Hislop taking the win for the silver drivers, followed by Ben Oliver, but Rob Underwood. But we do have to remember Sekanius is in silver as well, so I think Sekanius will get P2 and Ben Oliver will get P3 for that one. In the Pro-Am, it will be Brock Godfrey taking the top spot, followed by McLeod, which has managed to hold off the Ferrari of Shabim. And for our AM class, the Canius, it was not the Canius, it was Nora would take the top spot, followed by Callum Lloyd, and Mahiswar would take the final step of the AM podium. Anyways, how did you find this race, Cam?
It was a little bit of a slow burn, I have to admit. It was he's had a few battles. There was definitely, can't say there was no one close to each other, but it definitely did prove quite tricky to get a move done, and the few attempts that did happen were not exactly clean. But congratulations to Mr. Glory Babby taking potentially his unconfirmed first championship win. I'm not sure if was he already champion, but taking a championship for himself. Not too sure if it's his first or second, but definitely has always driven with that edge of speed in the Penrite Ford as well. Doing an excellent job, I have to say. We've always been threatening to be one of the sprint champions. So yeah, a tidy race. Driver of the day, Tim. Driver of the day. It's going to be very tricky for me to say.
It's tricky for me as well.
I want to say Mr. Fercolini I would go with for getting up to P2, kind of having his own real race, to be honest. We didn't see much of him, but he came away with the silverware.
I'd agree with you on that one. Yeah, Turcolini, we've not seen of him pretty much the whole race. He's just been driving his own race, and the commentator Sean has told us if you're having a quiet hit race, you're having a good race. But anyways, this was a round 5 from our Octane Online Thermaltake Sprint Series. My name is Tim Gobe, followed by commentating with Cameron Thistlethwaite, and on the cameras is Benjamin Hignett. This was OR.